Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Craig Pera. I am Craig Pera, the founder of the Mindful Habits System, a revolutionary behavior change modality that you can learn more about on my website, www.themindfulhabit.com. And this is Sex Afflictions and Porn Addictions, a podcast to empower you to create healthy sexuality and a great life. Those two concepts are inexorably intertwined. The data is overwhelming. I am so excited to have with me today Coach Adrian. Guys, I have been working with this guy for the past 6 years. He's compassionate, empathetic, and he knows his stuff. He's got a master's degree in clinical psychology, a gifted healer who moves men forward fast, and clients have said working with him is, and I quote, transformative, powerful, life-changing. And finally, I love this one, Adrian. I accomplished more in 3 weeks with Adrian than I did in a year of therapy. Welcome to the podcast, brother.
Welcome, Craig. I'm glad to be here.
We have been working together for a long time now.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow, what a gift, man! And thank you for your love and support. So glad that you're here. What are we going to be talking about today?
Well, we are going to talk about accountability and how it improves recovery and how it helps us to actually achieve our goals.
Yeah, accountability is so important. Until you helped me dive into the data, I knew it was helpful, but I didn't realize how impactful it really is. So let's give these guys a sense of what accountability is, how they can create it in their lives. So let's start, Adrian. What is accountability? When you think of accountability, what comes to mind?
Yeah, for me, being accountable means that I committed to someone else and I am going to achieve a goal, right? So that person is going to track my progress, is going to help me move forward and check if I actually achieved the goal that I've set for myself. So it's, like having that second person that looks over the whole process and checks with us if we really are going to do what we said we're going to do.
Now, I totally agree. But let me ask you a question, Adrian. There's different kinds of accountability. There's vertical accountability. There's horizontal accountability. And we're going to talk about that a little later in the program. But personally, let's not forget, you came to me as a client. Listen, I knew you were gifted as soon as we started working together, but it was a low point, near suicidal, consumed by porn. What did accountability mean to you personally?
Well, for me, that was super important because I was trying to fix myself to actually overcome this porn issue for many, many years before I reached out to you. I was aware that something isn't working and I couldn't do it on my own. I was promising myself that I will never do it again. I even did a blood oath, when I just signed with my blood that I'm not going to masturbate and watch porn ever again. And after 2 weeks, I found myself doing the same thing because I didn't have good tools, but moreover, I didn't have any support. I didn't have anybody who will check in with me, check if I'm doing the stuff I promised that I'm going to do. Nobody who will support me in the process, guide me through this process, and just give me those methods that I can use to move forward. So for me, that accountability part was super important. If I would just read it from the book, probably I would drop it after a week or two, being motivated for a week or two and then just leaving it like everything else. But I knew that not only I am working with somebody, I also pay for that, which was important for me. So I really want to get effects. I want to make sure that I do the things that you ask me to do so I can create results. And I honestly didn't want to let you down. Also, I felt like a little bit personally, I felt like, Craig is working with me and that's such a blessing for me. And I don't want to let this guy down. I just want to excel, in this program, just to show that your efforts are rewarded somehow by my action as well, right? That we're working together as a team, and I just care about your time as well as you care about me. So it was, I would say, that mutual exchange that wouldn't happen otherwise, without accountability, without you checking in with me every couple of days.
I find myself in the very self-serving place to, when people pay, they get results. There is overwhelming data when you invest in yourself. Now that's horizontal accountability, right, Adrian? That's when you hire a coach, or someone hires a therapist, or someone hires a counselor. That's horizontal, right? Oh no, that's vertical.
No. Yeah, vertical.
Vertical. Excuse me. Vertical. I always get that mixed up with the blinds, vertical blinds, horizontal blinds. So now, what is horizontal accountability?
Well, horizontal is when you are working with accountability partner, like a friend or a buddy, or in the worst case scenario, a family member, which I not recommend, but sometimes it is somebody from your recovery community, right? And you are on the same level. You're both recovering, you're both working on something, and you are on the same level in exchange motivation, exchange some good tips. And I think that's great. That's better than having no accountability, but it has pros and cons, right? The pros of that is that you're talking with somebody on the same level, you share the struggle, you don't feel that distance between you and that other person. So that's great, right? You feel that camaraderie, between people. But the cons are that person is struggling as well, and they may not be available, that may not have resources mentally, emotionally to support you when you need it. They are going through their own stuff, and sometimes this connection gets really, really I would say rare. I keep hearing from my guys who work with me, I have another accountability partner locally, and I keep calling him, he doesn't respond, right? And they call me, and if I'm not asleep, I'm always there for them, right? So that's the difference also. The availability is different when you engage and you also pay for the service.
Yeah, very, very important. It's like, having, like, if you didn't have a boss, can you imagine how productive people would be if there was no such thing as bosses, where you were just allowed to go and just get it done whenever, no deadlines, no accountability. I mean, it would be an absolute disaster. And it's so, so important in recovery. Now, what do you think about accountability software?
Well, I think that accountability software is great if you're just starting the journey and you want to have that extra motivation. But there are a couple things about it that I found really disruptive, in the process of healing, or I find it even concerning, So first of all, instead of working with the issue, you're working with the symptom. You're blocking your internet use, or you are shaming yourself into not doing things that you don't want to do, right? Because you're too ashamed to do it, and then somebody else will see it, right? So that peer pressure is shaming you into sobriety. I don't think that's a great method of dealing with sobriety, because shame fuels addiction, right? That's part of it. So I would say that blocking the problem doesn't work. You have to deal with the root cause. Shaming yourself doesn't work. You have to deal with the root cause. And what happens is also that quite often guys don't own their recovery so much when they use some kind of accountability software. They feel like this accountability software is almost like a parent to them, and they try to trick it somehow, right? So they find ways around it. They use special programming. I know so many stories from my guys as well. They were very creative, even learning new languages to put keywords that were not in the program, right? So I would say that this is, you can always go around the programs. The software isn't perfect. No software is perfect. So if you really want to commit and be accountable, I would say try to be honest with that one person that you want to be accountable with. That would work way better. And it is your decision. It's not like the program is sending something. Before you decide, I want to be honest. I want to share. Regardless of the response, right? And that's act of bravery, that's act of connection. And also you're learning how to trust people. You're sharing your vulnerable aspects of yourself, and you're waiting for the response from somebody, right? So I think that's why accountability software isn't perfect or isn't the best for long-term recovery. It may be good for this initial motivation just to kickstart the recovery, but I would say after a couple of weeks, you should drop it and move towards something better.
Yeah, I agree, Adrian. This is not a problem that people are going to be are not going to block, right? You've got to deal with the underlying issues exactly as you just said. But you said something really interesting that I just didn't want to gloss over it because it really highlights the lengths that men go through to circumvent the accountability software. Adrian, I'm very good at computers. One of the reasons I'm very good at computers is because of pornography. I had to replace graphic cards. I had to replace motherboards. I had to increase the memory, the RAM, all repair the damage from the viruses. And you said that guys putting in words in different languages.
Yeah.
Is that right? So in other words,
yes.
So they're looking for foreign language porn that the English version, for example, might not be picking up. Is that what you meant?
Exactly right. Because those software, most of this software uses keywords, right? So the keywords are in a certain language. So of course you can learn another language. Of course they are trying to make it better and they are inventing new forms of the software. So now it uses some of the softwares of the programs are using also like screenshots, and then of course you can see what's happening on the screenshot. But guys are doing that just to circumvent, like you said, just to go around the topic. And we can get really creative when we are struggling with compulsion. We can get really creative, like you said. So the best I would say the best blocking device is always in your head. It's never outside. It's never your partner. It's never the accountability software. Nobody else can stop you. You have to stop yourself and just use some tools that will help you with that.
Now, in regards to accountability software, Adrian, what's your experience when men have their partners as their accountability partner?
Yeah. So I mentioned that briefly before. I don't feel that this is the best option, and I will just say why. Because what happens is that the partners are receiving, the information in the recovery that is very detailed. And if they struggle with betrayal trauma, PTSD symptoms, whatever that is, that's going to make their issue worse. And that's going to make recovering for a couple way harder. So, and also another thing, partners are receiving those notifications before guy can admit that he did something. So there is no trust is built, because if you relapse, you have a sleep or something, you watch the porn for 10 minutes, whatever, right? Then at least if you have an agreement with your partner that you're honest about it, you can go and say, you know what, I did it. And that builds trust, right? At least you have that honesty. And she knows, okay, he shared with me before I found out, right? Before I found out that something happened. Here, they found out first, so there is no opportunity to create trust. There is more, I would say, more doubt. There is more thinking that maybe he will not share if not for this accountability software. So it undermines the trust, undermines the relationship, and slows the recovery of the relationships, makes it slower, I think, for the couple. I'm not sure what are your experiences, Craig.
Adrian, that's mine. I remember reading studies about 4 or 5 years ago that showed that when the man used his partner as the accountability partner, they had a higher risk of divorce. It was a small study, but certainly the anecdotal experiences of the people in that study that I remember reading about reflected all of the concerns that you just mentioned.
Yeah. And let me say one more thing, here, I encourage guys to be honest with the partners. I encourage transparency. I encourage honesty. But that requires talking about the boundaries, that requires talking about what do you want to know from me. Partners need to also set boundaries. I know some partners want to know everything, and some partners want to know there's certain things about the recovery. For example, that you relapsed in general, right? So it's also affecting the partners in a way that may be too overwhelming for them if they don't want or don't need or cannot process that detailed information, that amount of details. So, that's another thing that comes to my mind. And encourage honesty, but, just talk with your partner. Talk about, okay, there is a chance I can have a sleep. What I should do when it happens? And the partner can tell, okay, you have to let me know in 24 hours right away, right? And then the guy knows, right? And he can be his own accountability software. If he's honest, he's trying, right?
So important. So let's talk specifically, Adrian, about the benefits of accountability, because while I just in my mind, I knew how important it was for me. I certainly understand the benefits of vertical accountability, always having a coach, a mentor who's pushing me forward. But there are some very, very specific studied benefits of accountability. Let's talk about those.
Yeah, so first thing that I want to talk about is the increased chance of success in terms of completing a goal. Like you can see here, guys, we have a presentation also for those guys who are watching the video. We have a presentation that shows different benefits of accountability. And there was a study done by the American Society of Training and Development that shows that we have 65% chance of completing a goal if we are committing to someone, and if we have a specific accountability appointment with a person that we've committed, we are going to increase our chance of success up to 95%. That's extremely high. And guess what, guys? In our accountability, we don't only set an appointment, we don't only check specific goals, we also give you tips and support. So how high that success rate can go if you have that?
It is just critical. And the problem with so many guys is they feel alone. I mean, I know a lot of you guys listening to this podcast now feel so alone, yet there are millions of men all over the world struggling with this issue. And there's not a party that I go to or a social event with friends and someone learns about what I'm doing before somebody pulls me aside and says, I have a problem. Brothers, you are not alone. And yet they think they are. It's really sad.
Yeah. Like I remember when I started, I felt like I'm the only person in the world that has this problem. And I'm this perverted, sick person. And nobody else is like that, right? And when I started working with you, Craig, and getting to know other guys also that are working on this problem, I realized, especially when I started coaching, I realized that so many guys struggle with it. So guys, if you feel like this is only your problem, you're not alone. There are so many guys like you out there. And, it doesn't make you a monster, that you struggle with this problem. You're not alone. There are many good people that are struggling with this problem, and there's help.
And for those of you guys who keep listening, at the end, I want to let you know that we are going to be providing a very special, deeply discounted opportunity to work with Coach Adrian, his 12-week program, the Mindful Habits System, the one that I created, that he helped improve, that we trained the therapists. So stay tuned for that. Let's keep going with the benefits of accountability, Adrian. Let's keep talking about this, because I really, really want everyone to leave this presentation saying to themselves, shit, I got to do something about this. I need an accountability partner. And we're going to give you some specific tips to help you frame that relationship. But tell us more about the benefits.
Sure. So before we talked about the benefits of accountability in the business setting with some career goals, now we are going to talk specifically about recovery. So there are some addiction treatment programs that include long-term accountability, like ours, for example. And the success rate of these programs goes as high as 81% over 5 years of recovery. That means 81% of people who started this program with long-term accountability after 5 years are still sober. That's very, very high percentage for the addiction treatment program. Now, to compare that with 12-step programs, the success rate of 12-step programs in different studies varies between 5 and 47%. as you see, it's way lower. The accountability programs have twice as much percentage in terms of success rate. That means that they're way more effective than 12-step programs, although they work for some people. And the last thing that's super important in terms of addiction, there was a study done on accountability in treating addictions, and the study have shown on a big number of people that accountability doubles the effect of your treatment. It increases the amounts of patients that have significant change in their life. So they relapse less, they keep sobriety for a long time. It reduces the dropout of patients by half. So that means half as much people drop out of the program, right? They go, they leave. That's quite important. If you want to recover, you have to stay in the program. That's first thing. And it's reducing the risk of relapse by a third, right? That's high. Also, it's very high. The risk of relapse is reduced by a third, and it shortens the length of treatment by 2/3, right? So all those numbers show how important is accountability in addiction recovery, and it's because addiction has such a pull. Part of us really wants to act out, right? Part of us really craves those things. So we need somebody that's going to support us.
So important. Guys, you can't look at these numbers and not, go find yourself an accountability partner. And we're going to talk about how to do that, because I've got some thoughts, and I know you do too, Adrian. How do you form a successful accountability relationship? Give these guys some tips.
Yeah, so when we start accountability relationship, first I always ask my guys what they really want to achieve and accomplish. So the step one is clearly defining your goals and expectations, right? I have to know what are you expecting, what are your goals exactly, and then we can create a detailed plan how to get there, right? Then we have to set working communication channels, and that's so important. I still remind guys about that. That's so often is missing. You have to have a phone number to your accountability coach or accountability partner, or a messenger, messenger contact to them, or WhatsApp. You have to be able to connect instantly with them when you are triggered, when you really feel like you're going to relapse, right? So that's number one thing. You have to have the email to your accountability partner. All of those channels of communication have to be very, very clear for both sides, so you can communicate back and forth. The third thing is check-ins and sharing results weekly. If you do it less than I would say 1 week, you do it once per month, that's not enough. If you set goals, let's say, and you didn't achieve them, and you do a check-in within a week, then you can change those goals, make them more achievable, or get some powerful tips, and actually, accomplish those goals next week. If you wait till the month is ending, then you're not going to have the same results. You lost a month, right, instead of losing a week. So it's quite important to keep having those check-ins within a week and sharing results weekly. That means that you have to also track your goals. You have to write down what you did, right? You have to show something to the accountability coach. That's very important. So sharing that you have an accountability partner with your family. Another very, very powerful part of accountability work with a coach is that you can share it with your partner, you can share it with your family. You can say, I am working with accountability partner. I have a coach that will hold me accountable, that checks in with me, that we are monitoring my progress. I'm working with a professional. And that really creates a lot of safety in terms of relationships, in terms of family. And I think that's a great idea to be able to share that you have an accountability partner.
Adrian, before you go any further, let me ask you a question or share with you some thoughts on results, because here is where I think so many people who do have accountability partners are losing something very important. And what I'm talking about are the relationships where the accountable relationship only includes slip or not slip. In other words, there are no other forward-centric goals that you're being held accountable for. It's just the break a habit part. And as anyone who's been listening to me for any length of time knows, to break a habit, You have to make a habit. Those results that you're tracking with your accountability partner, yes, of course, we're talking addiction. It must include that, your success in regards to what you don't want to do. But if what you don't want to do is a function of you doing something else, you better be monitoring other goals that are moving you towards healthy sexuality and a great life. Agreed?
Yes, totally. Like you said, just monitoring relapses doesn't give you much information, to be frank. You just know that you're relapsing more. But if you are working on your life goals, you're working on how to fulfill your emotional needs in a different way, how to handle your feelings and thoughts differently, that actually creates sobriety, right? You cannot stop by saying, okay, now I'm going to stop and just you white knuckle, right? You guys who tried that, that, right? You know that it doesn't work long term. So that's why you have to talk about other things. You have to talk about your relationship with your partner. How are you going to improve that? If you're single, what are you going to do to connect with people, right? These kind of things are super, super important in recovery. I totally agree.
You have to change the underlying belief systems and habits that brought you to that place. And that means that you got to be focusing on other things. Great point, Adrian. What are some of the other important steps for achieving success in an accountability relationship?
Yeah, so another important step is defining what happens when you relapse. And I'm not saying about punishment that sometimes comes to mind when you think about what happens when you relapse. It's about relapse action plan. And that means that you're going to choose a couple actions that are going to rebalance yourself and restore safety after you relapse. So you don't binge, you don't create more trauma to your partner and family, and so on. That has to be a really, really clear plan. And accountability coach can help you form it. Another option that is available when you are working with accountability partner is learning about the tools that you can apply when you are working with somebody in our mindful habit program, right? So you can apply different tools to different situations, and having that connection with somebody that understands the process and that is sober, that went through this process, is very important because, frankly, I know what are the downsides, of recovery, what are the good points of recovery, where are some traps, in thinking, and what, traps in recovery as well. So I can give you some tips, I can give you some tools that fit you right in this present moment, which you will not receive from an accountability buddy probably, or from a book, right? So that's another important thing. And last point that I want to bring, if you want to create successful recovery relationship and accountability relationship, you have to discuss other support options. You cannot depend just on one person. And I think that's a general rule in life, right? If your own needs are depending on your partner, that is very overwhelming to a partner. You cannot put all the emotional needs on your partner, right? The same is with accountability partner. Sometimes he will maybe asleep. Sometimes he may be doing other work with somebody else, right? Sometimes he may be doing something. So in those situations, of course, you need to have at least 1-2 people that you can connect with, some other support options, maybe a local group. Maybe you can reach out to a friend, right? Maybe there's somebody else, that you can use as an accountability buddy, right? So that's, I think, quite important. It's like a backup plan when this accountability person is not available, the accountability coach. It doesn't happen too often, but you need to be prepared.
And that's, really, I'm so proud, the strength of our group, these guys being able to reach out to a community of men at any given time, talk to them. A lot of them are sharing phone numbers. Guys, this is so important. And when you think of one last tip that I want to add to Adrian's great list is the nature of the accountability relationship, brothers. It needs to be sustainable. So sometimes what I see is, early on, Joe's talking to Steve and they're on the phone for 3 hours and they're working through their problems and really just spinning, not really getting anything done. And then, you know, there's no time. Then it's another 2-hour call. Then it's another hour call. In my program, I've got some guys talking for 10 minutes a week, 5 minutes each, where they share what they're doing, the make a habit part, and their success, and what they're not doing, and setting goals for the upcoming week so they can hold each other accountable. So make sure that whatever you do, you must make that relationship attainable. In other words, it's got to last. It's got to last. And that means narrow, discrete, set times, and of course, availability for those emergency calls if necessary, if you're struggling. But having that set time, same day, every week, where you know that you're holding yourself accountable by sharing your goals with somebody else. So make sure that that relationship is attainable. So I want to say to you, Adrian, well, listen, how about we announce our special offer just for the listeners of this podcast? We've now hit 300,000 listens, guys. I'm so proud. It makes me feel significant. This is how I feed the right wolf. So, so blessed and so privileged. And thank you guys for giving me this success. Without you, I'm absolutely nothing. So I want to thank you guys so much for listening. So there's 2 things that we're going to do. So I'm going to give Adrian's number and his email address. And I had it up on the screen before if you happen to be watching the video presentation. So the first person that calls Adrian, we are discounting his 12-week one-on-one program by 50% for one person. So this is working with Adrian, 12 weeks, 2 times a week, busting your ass, getting pushed through the mindful habit system where you will increase your self-control, dramatically increase your emotional intelligence, create healthy sexuality, and build tools to create sustainable results. So if you want that discount, you can pay in installments too. So it's usually $4,000. We're cutting it in half for one person. It's going to be $2,000 payable once or payable in installments for the 12-week program. And here's what else I'm going to do. I feel like I'm doing an infomercial. Here's what else I'm going to do. I am going to give that person long-term access to my group coaching program. So that means that if you work with Adrian, if you're the first person to take advantage of this opportunity, you're going to get 50% off the 12-week coaching program, and I am going to provide you, and Adrian is going to provide you, and Coach George is going to provide you with long-term support in the group coaching program. So as long as that program's available in existence, and I'm not going anywhere, I just don't feel ethical saying lifetime guarantee because I don't know what I'm doing in 10 years. But as long as we're doing this, guys, you have that support. 7 group coaching calls a week, specialized mindfulness training, an active community forum where guys are talking to each other every single day, and tools that you need to be successful. You're going to get 50% off that 12-week program. I'm going to give you long-term membership in the group coaching program. And if that's outside of your budget, I get it. Everybody, has got different budgetary issues. I'm also going to give Adrian 50% off coupon for the group coaching program. And you can read about that on the website. So I just want everyone to know. So if you want to talk to Adrian, you are going to email him at adrian@themindfulhabit.com. That's adrian@themindfulhabit.com, ADRIAN. And his phone number, 628-900-3299. So area code 628-900-3299. Anything else that you'd like to add, Adrian, before we wrap up this podcast?
Yeah, I would like you guys to leave a message. Feel free to talk to me about anything. If you need some support, just reach out. Remember to leave your number in a voicemail if you're calling. That would be great help. And I'm just saying that, I'm feeling that this is a great offer for you guys. So just reach out whenever you need support from me, support from our program. I think we talked about benefits of accountability. I am also doing enhanced accountability program, which is another thing. If you want to have that accountability partner and you are already maybe a member or a fan of Mindful Habit, that's another option. Let me know about that option in the email. If you're interested in that, just reach out to email, and we're going to talk about that option. Is less costly. It costs just $299 per month, which is a lower cost for guys who are maybe lower on budget as well. So if you want that, read the email, send me an email, and I'm going to talk about that with you. Okay?
Yeah, I only trust the best, guys. I am so proud of the work Adrian's been doing. So proud of his master's in clinical psychology. And I remember being on the call with Adrian. It was a week ago. I remember, and we're going through the results of this study, and I didn't understand, some of the terminology. And, I asked out loud, what does it mean? And like son of a gun, Adrian rattled off an answer, and I went, I love it. The student is teaching the teacher. You are a master, brother. So glad to have you on the team. Thank you for being part of this podcast. And everybody, don't forget, if you are struggling, you do need help. Life is too short to suck. Give Adrian a call and embrace your power of choice and feed the right wolf inside you. See you later, everybody.